6 a.m. January 9th, 2025. I raced there, I raced back. It's not as horrid as usual. It was definitely at me. So that explains what I was just talking about when they did it again. Yeah, they hitting me with it in my main room. It seems stronger when I go over by 1507 side of my main room. And there's so many motherfuckers that crawl in from 1507 and 1511. I don't know sometimes if I'm getting caught up in the chemical bio warfare. No, I know I have very often been caught up in it. They use it on targets that it actually works on. But we're still doing that at the date and time I stated in both video 1 and video 2. We're still doing that. We're still targeting a victim where you concretely got to realize has been demonstrated it doesn't work on that target, but you still use it. Is this, I'm speculating, to go on the internet? Is everything now in Washington, D.C. with the ISIS terrorists centered around going on the internet for celebrity status? Look at us. Look what we have on S Street. Look what we're doing. We're using it on an unarmed U.S. citizen, a civilian in her house. Look at us. We're on the internet doing it every day. Look at us. We can't be stopped. Is that why they're doing it? Because they can't really be thinking it's going to work every time. Do they really think that? From what I observed, and with conclusion, like I was around for 2 days, consecutive days in the morning around them for quite a bit, because it took me a significant amount of time to scrape all that snow off the porch, the steps, and the walkway in the yard. The white neo-Nazi domestic terrorists that are infested in the city that walk those sidewalks, along with their cannibals that come and go and walk the sidewalks. Anyone and anything can walk the sidewalks in this town. I've said that. I know what I survived and what I witnessed in Washington, D.C. Anyone can come and go in this town. It's anarchy. But not in a good way. Not in a Charter Emma Goldman way. No, this is in a deranged, mutated human species out of control. That's a dying species. That's the first thing I started saying, because that's how I am. I can't take my scientist hat off. This was way before they started using the biological and chemical weapons on me every day to go on the internet, I guess, I suppose, is to be on video doing it. Because that's the only thing that's been demonstrated that's ever happened with me being poisoned, is that I go on the internet. So I guess that's what they want. So we're on the internet again with your fucking storehouse, warehouse of bio and chemical weapons. We're doing it again. I hope the mutants are happy. But when I first came here, around the time they were about to start killing hookers, about this time, the noise had become so atrocious. And just what I was witnessing in this disgusting United States, the press, the people, I kept saying out loud at least once a day, they're a dying species. They're a dying species. Of course, they don't even know that. And I still say that because it's so stark. So I can't help any of you if you don't see that, because you're just going to die with them. You're a dying species here in DC. It's a matter of time. There's no way your brain can function with the environment you've created. The only way you're existing in that environment is because you are a dying species. No, you don't see that. But by the time you start cannibalizing and having abnormal intercourse as your perceived normal intercourse, sexual intercourse, everything's mutated here. I'm not going after homosexual, okay? I'm just saying if you're having anal sex, you're not having heterosexual sex, but they don't understand that here. And it's not a sociological phenomenon, it's scientific. They're a dying species. You can tell when you go around their environment, which they think is a normal environment, and that their brain is going to be able to function long term like that. It's not. And they actually try to reproduce and raise offspring in that environment. The children, the mutant children, these are mutant kids that they are raising in this city will grow up to be the most violent predators you could ever create, with the cannibal society they were raised in, with the kind of environmental chaos and noise and violence they were raised in, and the drugs and the influx, privileged, constant flow of income. That individual is going to demand that they have that kind of money the rest of their life. And my God, if cannibalism is something they were raised with since they were a small toddler, then what would they not do? They would do anything. But the thing is, they're a dying species. They won't make it that long. No, they're going to die off. These are barbarians. And if they were to hypothetically take over any real power, they have power, but not exactly. They don't really have as much power as they are aiming to achieve. If these barbarian pygmy cannibals were to hypothetically take power like they really want, with their ISIS flags flying down the street and all their neo-Nazi leaders flapping their mouths, they wouldn't last very long. They would kill off anyone who had any intelligence to run a computer or run a science lab. They would kill them off. All right? Then they would start killing off each other. These men in the Middle East that can't get out of their religious clothes, that have cloth, pieces of cloth, that's what you look like, pieces of cloth hanging from your head to your ankles. And you expect the rest of the world to do professional business with you because you can't get out of your religious clothing. Okay? The reason why you still dress like that at boardroom meetings is because of Bill Clinton and his treasonous agreement that he made with your country of Saudi Arabia. If these countries, UAE, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, so on and so forth, were not protected since 1992, they would not have been as successful in business boardroom meetings dressed from head to toe in religious, fanatical clothing. You'd have to dress for your job. But since you never had to dress for your job, you convinced the rest of the world that that was appropriate, that that is normal. It's not normal. And you cannot go before any sort of world leaders with experience and skill in governance and governing people dressed with cloth over your head and all the way to your ankles in one big sheet. You took your sheet off your bed and put it over your head and showed up to the political meeting, the political big boardroom meeting. You showed up like that. And tell other people running governments with social contracts over millions of people in their country, you cannot tell them that you have 1 cent of anything they want to hear about how to run their country. You're not going to tell me that, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, with all your cloth hanging from your head to your ankles. You're going to tell me that you know how to run a country? You don't know how to get dressed in the morning and show up for a business meeting. You're not going to tell me ever how to run my country. Afghanistan, the Taliban, you are not a country. You are not a government. You will never be a functioning government or country. You know, Saudi Arabia has you there on the news to take pictures of yourself with all that cloth, once again, wrapped around your head like a lunatic, pretending to run a country. You're not. You're drug smugglers. You are not an acknowledged country. You will not tell any professional politicians how to run theirs in other countries. You have no say. I will say this to Afghanistan. The land that you are walking on while you are draped in your bed sheet from your bed that you took off your bed and wrapped around your head and walked all around all day dressed in a big white linen sheet saying that God told you to do it. That land you're walking around, you're going to lose that land. The geographical land of Afghanistan is not yours. But go ahead, wear your sheet, get your machine guns from Iran, round up all your lunatics in your big caliphate war, and try fighting for it. Try fighting for it. You're going to lose your land. Afghanistan is not yours anymore. I want to inform you of that. Now go put on your sheets all over your head, put on your sheets all over your arms, and go cover yourself in a big sheet and come fight for it. Okay, so they're still using biological and chemical weapons and stockpiling them on our street. Today, the only thing I'm allowed to say at all about my country that's happening, and then anyone who has been watching my account and what I've been desperately trying to tell the United States population, you can see in the press right now, there's massive events that are going on in places I've talked about, written about, did locations on with the maps, on and on and on for years. But when it starts to happen, I can't say a word. It's the same thing today. I cannot say a word. What I can say is those 5 presidents that are getting together today in this city, Washington, D.C., with this terror cell still fully raging, still poisoning unarmed American civilians on videotape, still going on right now, today. Those 5 presidents are and will be arrested and hung for the real charges of treason. The real charges. Your TV, and I'm going to end with this, your United States television has cost you in the country, with all your despot 5 presidents, has cost you your democracy, your Bill of Rights, your Constitution. And the reality of that is, all I can say is this: seen from space, fireballs from Alaska all the way down to the Panama Canal. That's just your West Coast. Seen from space, fireballs. That's the reality of losing your Bill of Rights, your Constitution, all your democracy. And you begged for that in America. You begged for that. You cannibalized, as the pygmy cannibals that you are. You cannibalized for years in front of literal military men. And you think you're going to keep the TV show going. You actually did. That TV, your American television, caused seen from space fireballs on your sovereign territory, and you asked for that. Have a nice day, 5 presidents. I am right here, walking distance from you, being poisoned with everything else that happens here that I'm forbidden from talking about, but you have to be deaf and blind. So don't tell me you're ordering lunch down there. As far as in closing, with what I forgot to mention, I was out there shoveling my snow 2 days in a row for a considerable amount of time, and your white terrorists who are littered in the street with your cannibals that walk down the sidewalk with them. In conclusion, without any more needing to observe this, you are not a master race. And no, none of you down there in the White House, the 5 presidents going on TV today, and none of your people in this town, no, I know. You think I deserve to be poisoned every day. You're convinced I asked for this kind of seditious torture. And you're convinced that I deserve to be this poor, this alone with no one to help me. You're sadist. Remember, your television, while you're watching your 5 presidents, has and will cause seen from space fireballs from the state of Alaska down to the Panama Canal. And that's your West Coast. Your Atlantic seaboard is even worse. You asked for that. Adios.